One thing I did want to ask you about, Frank, your mate Piers Morgan and your significant other, Mr. Hearn, they had an interesting spat on Twitter. Now, you know Piers very well. What was that all about?
Well, there are. I mean, obviously, we're in a difficult situation at the moment. You've frozen up, mate. I swear you're back now. Look, obviously, the country's in a very difficult position, and everybody's got an opinion as to why we're in it and what's happening. But the fact of the matter is, we are in it. And for once, I would agree with my co-promoter that we have to be positive. I don't think now's the time for us to be having sort of inquisitions about why we're in the position. I think that comes after we get out of this, please God, and then we'll see where we are. Some of the comments that have been made by Piers have given the government a kick up the backside and made them move on certain things. And sometimes he's been, in my opinion, he might have gone over the top and said things that, where you think, stand back a bit, let's hold up a bit. We're being, that people are trying to make the best of the situation. But obviously, he's championing the NHS workers' safety and obviously the care homes. And I've had conversations about it, and I know he's championing that, and that's his position. That's all about debating. And if he asked Eddie Hearn to go on there to debate it with him, then if you're making comments about someone, and someone said, "Well, come on, let's have it out on there in front of the public," then that's what he should do. But as you say, he's declined it. So I don't know. But we have to be positive. We've got to get through this as a nation collectively. I don't think that time is now for recriminations. I think it's time now for positivity and trying to help. I lost one of my very, very best friends to the virus, Eric Elric, a couple of weeks ago, which is very sad for his family, his wife, Bessie, and also me as being one of my mates since I was very young. So it's quite, I know how bad it is for people, and it doesn't sink in. I went to a funeral a couple of days ago, and it was, when you're in a funeral where there's only 10 people there and a 20-minute service, you don't feel that you're giving justice to somebody's life. It's not like anybody could go to the hospital and see him when he was in the hospital. It was just what it was. Passed away. You're basically away. You don't manage to say goodbye to your loved ones. It's just awful. You think how poor Anthony Yard is. He lost his dad and his grandmother. It's a terrible situation. So I think at the moment we're trying to give people hope, and and I hope that the country, pulls together to sort of do get through this. The majority of the country are very sensible and understanding why we're in this lockdown and how necessary it is. The idea is obviously to kill this virus, and if there's no contact between people, then they're hoping it will kill the virus off. If there's contact between people all the time, then obviously it's going to keep finding another person to live off of. And I think that we've got to just follow what the government says, and the government can only follow what the scientists and the doctors are telling them. Everybody's being advised, and I know you've got doctors have different opinions, but whatever advice the government are following, one thing for sure they have managed to do is to stop the NHS from being swamped. That did not happen. The hospitals they built, certainly two of the Nightingale hospitals, the one in London, I think the maximum they've had in there is 49 beds being used out of 4,000, and I don't think they've used the one in the Midlands. So they've managed to keep the NHS in a position where it's not been overwhelmed by people with the virus. So that side of it has worked, and we've got to continue to make sure that we adhere to and listen what they say. And if we're still in a lockdown because the advisors are telling us that's where we should be, then that's what we must do. As frustrating as it is, I'm somebody who's out every day of the week, and I know, and I'm feeling frustrated. Imagine, where I grew up when I was a kid in Priory Green Estate, just off Penfield Road, in a flat, 4 kids, my mum and dad. I mean, God knows what it must be like for people like that. I mean, we'd been going up the walls, so it's very difficult. Especially the weather was beautiful and everyone wants to be out, see the sun. They want to be out and about. So we've got to just keep the discipline and keep doing what we're being told, and hopefully we'll get through this.
It's very well said, Frank. And with that, I think we'll probably leave it there. First of all, very sorry to hear about your friend. Also, very sorry to hear about anybody else who is watching this who have been affected by the coronavirus. Of course, Anthony Yard, fighter of yours, somebody who I know well, who lost his father and his grandmother very sadly to the coronavirus. But yeah, Frank, thanks very much for your time as always. It's always a pleasure catching up with you. Nice to see you looking so fit and well. Those morning workouts with Tyson Fury doing your right job.
I fix the missus up every morning. Actually, she picks me up.
Actually, what? Before I let you go, Frank, we talked about Piers Morgan. If next year in some fantasy land, Joshua Fury for the undisputed world heavyweight title, how about we have Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, Piers Morgan on Good Morning Britain?
I've got a problem with that.
Good. I like it.
I'll bring his dad as well.
Hey, there we go.